Alright, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about Far Cry 6 and PETA being upset over a little part of the game, and honestly, I haven't played Far Cry 6 at all yet, so I haven't had really, I guess, any first-person experience with this game mode or anything crazy like that, but I have seen footage of it, and I have seen the complaint that PETA's making, and I definitely have an opinion on it because, well, I mean, this is the same thing that we've been seeing for too long at this point, man. You know, they're taking a little part of this game and they're trying to overinflate how big of a deal this really is, right? They're taking this section of a game that in all reality is probably not even 1% of the entire video game, and they're inflating it to make it seem like, you know, it's this massive part of the game that everybody plays and has to deal with and things like that, and it doesn't seem that way. So this all seems to be kind of going around a small mini-game in Far Cry 6 that allows you to cockfight. Now, if you don't know what cockfighting is, basically it's when you take, I believe it's male roosters, and you make them fight. It's a lot like dogfighting. It's very bloody, very violent, very destructive, and sad. Obviously, cockfighting in real life is a horrible thing. It's not something that people should be doing. Oftentimes, it's done for financial gain. People bet on which of the roosters will win. And, you know, once again, this is another example, I guess, of something that is horrible that happens in real life that is being depicted in video games. And personally, I don't have a huge deal with video games depicting, I guess, you know, things that would be deemed controversial IRL, of course. Because a lot of video games have been that way, right? You can argue that pretty much 90% of things in video games are immoral to show. People really don't seem to understand that just because bad things happen in a video game doesn't mean that it's encouraging it to happen in real life. I mean, the science, once again, already has been done. They've studied this stuff to see if video games have effects on, like, real-life behavior and stuff. And it's been proven in multiple studies that video games do not cause in-real-life violence, okay? It's not something that happens, so the newly released Far Cry 6 promises series fans a return to open-world shenanigans, this time set on the fictional Caribbean island of Yara. Developed by Ubisoft Toronto, Far Cry 6 follows protagonist Danny Rojas as they and the Resistance attempt to overthrow the dictatorship ruled by Anton Castillo, portrayed by Giancarlo Esposito of The Mandalorian fame. The game has been met with generally favorable reviews, with it currently sitting at a Metacritic score of 75. Far Cry 6 has been praised for its charismatic villain, sprawling open world, and mesmerizing mayhem, while being criticized for its repetition and lack of new ideas. The game also features a rather interesting minigame that has raised a few eyebrows as well. Far Cry 6 allows players to participate in a cockfighting minigame in which they not only collect roosters but directly control them in a Mortal Kombat-style fighting game, complete with a character select screen, special moves, and multiple rounds. Reactions to the mode have been mixed, with some players having fun. On October 7th, the senior manager of PETA's Latino branch, Alicia Aguayo, released a statement calling on Ubisoft to remove cockfighting from the game. Okay, so, you know, this minigame, let's go ahead and talk about it, right? Is it something that I would be playing? Probably not. I mean, it doesn't seem like it really would hold my interest. I mean, I really don't care about fucking cockfighting, right? It's not something I'm into. I'm not just running around waiting to play the Far Cry 6 cockfighting minigame, you know? But I also don't see why it's a huge deal. I mean, it's a fucking video game at the end of the day, right? Like, it's insane to me the level, I guess, of bullshit that the video game industry has gotten onto. And it's funny how quick when it comes to video games, like, the evidence will be completely just ignored. Because they're making it out, right, that, like, I don't know, let's say you're just a guy who would never take place in fucking betting animals' lives, whatever, right? Like, bro's gonna load up Far Cry 6 on the PC, play through this minigame, and next thing you know, he's gonna have 7 roosters in the backyard training for a fucking local underground tournament. Like, it's gotten to the point where it's just bullshit, man. I mean, obviously, the extreme majority of people who ever would even know that this is a thing, that this is a minigame in Far Cry 6 are not going to be partaking in these actions, would never consider it anything like that, wouldn't support it. But apparently this is some sort of like threat to animals everywhere. This is a threat to society in general. I mean, we've handed basically the master recipe to psychopaths to just do whatever they want, man. I mean, imagine all the poor animals in real life. It's almost like people would be doing cockfighting if Far Cry 6 did this minigame or not. I mean, let's be realistic here. If you show me a graph that shows that cockfighting was literally never an issue, and then like it shows after the release of the game it's up 7,000%, yeah, go ahead and make the point. But considering the fact that people have been doing this probably for thousands of years at this point, it just really kind of highlights that while this is an in real life issue, it's not one caused or substantiated in any way by this game. I mean, it's essentially making the same argument that video games cause violence, right? Because in all reality, obviously, if people would not be quote-unquote tempted to do this because of this game, you know, there would be no issue for these people to argue, right? At the end of the day, you're talking about fucking pixels being manipulated. Like, you're talking about some lines of code that tell you, you know, where this pixel is going to go on the screen and how this group of pixels will interact with that group of pixels. That's what's being argued over. Turning a horrific blood sport like cockfighting into a Mortal Kombat style video game match is a far cry from real innovation. Ha ha, far cry, ha ha. As today's society is strongly opposed to forcing animals to fight to the death, roosters using cockfights are fitted with sharp spurs that tear through flesh and bone, causing agonizing and fatal injuries. PETA Latino urges Ubisoft to replace this reprehensible minigame with one that doesn't glorify cruelty. Interestingly, cockfighting is still considered legal in Cuba, where Far Cry 6's Yara is inspired by and is quite popular in the country. The cockfighting depicted in Far Cry 6 is certainly violent and the roosters lose feathers as the fights go off, although there's no blood shown nor do any die in the process. The gaming community seems split on the appropriateness of the inclusion of cockfighting. Some find it harmless as no real animals are being injured, while others are concerned over the implications of featuring animal cruelty in such a nonchalant manner in-game. Okay, once again, being concerned over the quote-unquote implications of featuring animal cruelty in such a nonchalant manner in-game indicates that you believe there will be some sort of real-life repercussions that society faces from that. Like, you're essentially insinuating that because they see this in a video game that they're going to be more tolerant of animals being fucking, like, brutally harmed or something. Which, once again, science has irrefutably proven over and over again, millions of dollars in funding, that video games do not directly correlate to real-life violence. And the few studies that have been shown that say that it does happen have had so many holes poked in them that they're like fucking Swiss cheese, or they've been outright exposed through the financial donors and whatnot to basically just be anti-video game propaganda. So I guess I'm on the side of this, as since it's literally not real animals and it doesn't scientifically correlate with in real life cockfighting, I don't see a big fucking deal. It's a video game minigame that I personally would choose not to play because I don't deem it interesting. You know, I don't feel like this is something that I give a shit about, but it's becoming ridiculous how far people are like trying to, you know, pin shit on video games. And the article goes on to claim that the place that this game is based on, Cuba, is known for its love of cockfighting. This video sounds so suspect, but y'all are just gonna have to give me a pass, man. I mean, let's be real. Cuba is crazy for cockfighting, bro. Like, they're all about the cocks fighting. Let's just say that, man. So, obviously, you know, here in the West, in Western countries and shit, we have different standards and ethics for animals than a lot of other places in the world do. I mean, you gotta think, like, there's places in Asia where they literally fucking cook and eat dogs and insects and stuff like that. Obviously, that is not normal, like here in the United States, where the vast majority of us are watching this video or making this video from. Shit is different in other places, and while I think, obviously, that forcing animals to fight to the death and severely harm and maim themselves for your own entertainment or profit is fucking disgusting and horrible, and obviously I wouldn't condone or support it, but we're not really talking about that issue. We're talking about a fucking minigame in a video game, okay? Like, it's just crazy to me the mental gymnastics these people will go to, like, you know, call this an issue, right? Like, they'll completely gloss over the video games in which you kill hundreds, if not thousands of people throughout the course of it, on average, in a complete butcher machine, but, you know, two chickens fighting in a video game on a screen is just unacceptable. Like, you just can't have that. And I mean, this is pretty accurate to, I guess, like, the design of the game. If this really is supposedly, like, taking place in a Cuba-like place, it only makes sense that the culture of that place is accurately represented in the open world. I mean, for instance, if somebody made a video game that took place in modern-day America, there better be a fucking McDonald's on every block, right? Like, there better be a fast food drive-thru on every corner. You gotta think, it's little details like that that actually make a video game great. I mean, if you think about the open world of, like, let's say Grand Theft Auto, the fact that it has those Americanized fast food joints all over the map and the constant mockery / representation of everyday modern American culture in it, that's what helps make it so great. Sometimes video games have to say uncomfortable shit in order to get a point across or to make the game better. Now, you can certainly argue, right, that video games like this, it's not making the game any better to have this mode. You can make that argument all day long. But it's also quite fucking ironic that the group of all that's coming out to say that this is immoral the way that these animals are being depicted as PETA, considering PETA, as much as they scream and cry about animal equality and how people should treat these poor animals better, is one of the largest organized butcher shops basically on the planet. They kill thousands upon thousands of sheltered animals every single year. I mean, even dogs and cats that could be easily rehomed, PETA will just straight up fucking kill because, there's no room for them or no real demand for them. They don't really, fit in with the propaganda machine that they build. So it's always funny to see PETA come out and talk as if they have any room to really make a point about animal cruelty. These motherfuckers talking about animal cruelty would be like Ted Bundy coming out and being like, hey, being a serial killer's not cool, guys. Like fucking Bin Laden telling you that committing terrorism is wrong. Like, it's so nonsensical how that they try to be about shit like this. But with that being said, though, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel, follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubTheOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus, well, not really caring about this mini game, and signing out.